For anyone who's remotely interested in knowing more about Stoicism, this age-old school of philosophy essentially boils down to 4 fundamental virtues. To every Stoic, these virtues are the primary things that make life worthwhile, and set you up with a framework to ultimately become a better, more developed individual. And if you're aiming to improve your outlook on life and deploy a Stoic approach to handling successes, failure, and everything that comes with life, these 4 cardinal virtues are bound to prove useful in a lot of ways. Before we dive into what these virtues are, it helps to know why these Stoic virtues have been so revered for thousands of years. Considering that these tenets of thinking go back at least as far as the portrayal of Socrates in the dialogues of Plato, the Stoics generally maintain that the goal of their philosophy, living in agreement with nature, was synonymous with living honorably. And so a basic code of honorable conduct is thought to exist across the writings of the most popular Stoic thinkers, like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. The first virtue is Phronêsis, or wisdom. Wisdom is thought to be the most important of the Stoic virtues because it references a solid understanding of what is good, bad, and indifferent in life. It allows us to make logical decisions and sound judgments from our own knowledge and experience. Being human, we tend to believe that most of our pain arises from past experiences. And with wisdom, we challenge those set beliefs and move towards building a new perspective with a peaceful mind. In everyday life, I find that this can be practiced through the constant pursuit of knowledge and by expanding your mind to different ideas and perspectives so that you develop a well-rounded understanding about anything that you're dealing with. Which is precisely why these past couple years, I've been prioritizing my reading, so much so that I've created a book club over on Vihan.com. This hub has a bunch of my favorite books from each category that I think would bring you a ton of value. Plus, you can get in touch with me and let me know about books that have impacted you. I'll likely check them out and might even add them to the book club. You never know. The second virtue is Dikaiosynê, or justice. The justice system plays such an integral role in the functioning of our society by upholding our rights and a legal framework to abide by. So, if you thought that this virtue is justice from a legal standpoint, you would be wrong. The Stoics practice justice as a means of doing right by yourself and others, not from a legal sense, but from a moral one. When you approach whatever you're doing with the frame of mind that you are going to do the right thing, you can have confidence in whatever the outcome will be, even if there are a bunch of variables that are not in your control. Emperor Marcus Aurelius held justice in the highest regard and ruled over Rome with this virtue in mind. He's quoted saying, "Just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter." The next virtue is Sôphrosynê, or temperance. Temperance or moderation has generally been thought to be associated with self-discipline or self-control, but it can also be viewed as an emphasis on self-awareness. This is particularly pertinent in these times when we're constantly seeking our next dopamine hit, whether it's money, appetite, or notifications on your phone. Speaking of which, if you're enjoying this video, drop me a like down below and subscribe for more videos like this every single week. I could use a dopamine hit. The virtue of temperance reminds me of the importance of mindfulness with anything that we do. It helps control our impulses and focus on the long term over the short term. I found myself using this virtue to help guard me against extremes by not relying on the fleetingness of pleasure for happiness, nor allowing the fleetingness of pain and disappointment to destroy it. The final virtue is Andreia, or courage. There isn't a whole lot of explanation required here aside from the fact that courage in this context does not mean the elimination of fear or anxiety. Instead, it's about making the decision to act and taking steps despite that fear and anxiety. From my perspective, courage also extends to persistence and the will to keep pushing even if things may not be going your way. It often takes a significant amount of courage to go out into the world and stand by the things that you believe in, which is why courage plays such a pivotal role in approaching life with a Stoic mindset. All of these virtues are much more intertwined than we think. For instance, the virtue of temperance tells us to have balance with how we exercise justice. It reminds us that we should act solely based on what is right by us, but also find a balance with what is right by others as well, which is why together, these cardinal virtues have formed a timeless guide for a person to become someone who flourishes and thrives no matter what the situation. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno of Citium, has written that a man's virtue or excellence does not depend on his success in obtaining anything in the external world. It depends entirely on having the right mental attitude towards things. Life is full of twists and turns and unpredictability. There's so much that exists within the realm of our control, and yet if we choose to focus on that which we cannot control, it can ultimately end up destroying us. However, if you do go forward with the core virtues of wisdom, justice, temperance, and courage, you've likely got a strong foundation that you're building on. That's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more from me every single week. Catch you next time. Peace.